wrestlers there, and we have in our presence a second generation star. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Puerto Rico, ladies and gentlemen, Carlito. Carlito's in the cabana.
I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. That's all I've got, by the way. There's nothing else.
I just have to mention that I will say this: when we were going to do Wrestlers Court, we had deemed Carlito to be the most senior wrestler on the team. It was a toss-up between him and Mickey, but Mickey gave the nod to Lito, grown up in the business. So, as is the custom in Wrestlers Court, he would have been the judge.
There he is.
Yeah, we even had an old-timey
I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because I know we want to get to the main event. and the main event wanted to get to you guys. Mickey James is jittering over there waiting for a chance to get a spotlight.
If we go too long, she'll just jump in anyway.
Trust me, I stopped her a couple of times. She wanted to come in. Every time somebody came up, she wanted to say something. Bless her little heart. What a sweetheart.
Paul was mentioning a few guys who grew up in the business, like Joe Hennig or Curtis Axel, as he's known, and it seems like there are obvious advantages to growing up in it, but then I'm curious about what some of the potential hazards are, or some of the things that you might see as a detriment of being a second generation guy.
It's a double-edged sword. Like, the doors open up real fast, but what they expect from you is what they saw from whoever, be it your grandfather, your dad, or your uncle, whatever. So, like I said, doors will open real quick, but they expect a lot more from you than somebody that's first generation. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, it's a lot easier for us, but at the same time, we're expected to do a lot more real quick. You know what I mean? But in what I say, you should have that advantage because you've seen it your whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, before I even started practicing wrestling, I kind of knew stuff in the back of my mind without even knowing.
I used to hear, every now and then you would hear that sort of negative connotation towards second or third generation wrestlers, where it was and I would always I always made that same argument where I would go, if you were a company and you were looking to hire someone, and you're not only looking at what you think they can do, but you're looking at what you think they can do going forward, and you're looking at what they bring to the table from a business perspective, and you think, are these guys going to even stick around in the business? Are they going to, are they going to understand what it's like? Are they going to be able to handle it? If you've grown up in it, I feel like that confidence is going to be much higher from a company looking to hire someone and invest in it.
Not only that, just from the fans, when you guys see, you can hear anybody, somebody's son or whatever, your eyes are already open, and then from there on, it just can go down. You can only keep a certain level. They're like, this guy's so, it's awesome, and then, wait a minute, this guy kind of sucks or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I understood that too. I mean, like, a lot of guys, second or third, looking at your big head, they think they're old just because of their whoever, you know what I mean? So I understood that, and just even dealing with the boys, like dealing with fans one thing, but dealing with the boys, I knew how they would see you, like, this guy, whatever. So you kind of gotta work your way to win everybody over.
Yeah. Well, and you also, you were a unique perspective as a second generation.
Yeah, second generation.
And because not only was your father a wrestler, but he is a very well established promoter, and so you were privy to not only you went to backstage at a few shows that your dad was wrestling on. Your dad wasn't gone all the time wrestling. You saw the entire operation of a territory that still exists to this day.
Yeah, because all my jobs, I've never had a real job. They've always been wrestling related. Like, my dad has run his promotion for about 43 years. So I started in the canteen, then I started hawking beer. The guy that goes around, you guys seen it, right? The guy that goes around is that still a thing, or does everybody go to the concession now?
Yeah,
I think it's more of an old school thing. The guys who go around with beer.
It's definitely more of a thing in America, but I don't. I'm sure. Do we have vendors or anything? Not really. No. But they know what they know. Yeah, they know what.
Right. Then what I do? I used to put up the ring. Then I was a cameraman, and then I jumped into actually being a wrestler.
How old were you when you actually started wrestling?
I started at 19, so it's about 4 or 5 years ago, more or less.
And and the thing is, that that's interesting because for a guy who grew up in the business, 19 is kind of late. I mean, not late by normal standards, but I was 17 when I started wrestling.
Right.
You know, and
the thing is, I didn't know I was going to be a wrestler.
Right.
My dad kind of came up to me and said, "Listen, son, we need you for this angle. We need you." And they told me I'd wrestle one time. I was like, all right, whatever. And then all of a sudden, he told me, "Okay, good. That was great. I need you to wrestle continually." Like, I remember my first match, I had a piece of paper, had everything written down. Like, man, I've never been so nervous in my life. So I probably studied for that more than I've studied for any kind of exam in school or whatever.
Who was your match with?
His name was El Exótico, which in English is the exotic one. He played the, how do you say it these days, the people think it correct? Flamboyant.
Yes.
Well,
exoticos is kind of what they, in Mexico at least, is what they call the transgender cross-dresser.
Yeah.
What? No,
a little more, like Goldust.
Yeah.
With the volume turned up.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they used to call him. They used to say he's a little gentle.
If you get a chance to see Pimpinella,
Cassandro, yeah, guys like that. I'm thinking was Gorgeous George. I think he had kind of a.
Yeah, Adrian Street.
Yeah, that's what I think about.
But like, he was exotic Adrian Street. But yeah, like exotico is like a real term now.
Yeah.
For the sort of the wrestlers who are sort of sexually ambiguous.
Yeah.
Mexico, anything's allowed. I'm curious because like you said, as a second generation guy, you are given opportunities. Do you think you are exposed to the same learning curves? And as a guy who, obviously your father had to have been a big influence on you, but was there anybody else who ended up becoming a big influence to you?
I'm assuming everybody did. Like, I didn't have a favorite wrestler growing up. I used to like the different people, but I never idolized anybody. And I used to see the Macho Mans, the Abdul Butchers, Ric Flairs, the Mickey James. But the thing about me is I never wanted to be the next somebody. I wanted to be the first. I guess Carlito, I guess, you know what I mean? I never, like, if you see my dad's work, my dad never played a bad guy. He was always a good guy. So I went in a completely opposite direction just because. And also, too, like, I think it was a little different for me than other second generations because I think in the States, not many people know, or outside of Puerto Rico, you know what I mean? In the business, everybody knows my dad, you know what I mean?
That I was going to touch on was that it seems like some of the hindrances of the second generation guys come more for the guys whose father was very, very well known and had especially anyone whose father had been in the WWF.
Right.
So like Joe Hennig, for example, Kurt Hennig is regarded as one of the best in-ring performers we've ever had. So that's immediately like crazy big shoes to fill. Same as Ted DiBiase, who I was a huge fan of his work. A junior, I mean. I thought he was excellent. Like, and I saw him, I was like, he's going to be a main eventer. You know what I mean? But I feel like there was a part of the reason why he ended up not working out and decided to step out was because of his name.
Right.
And shadow.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have that cachet with the fans. The boys in the back, I had to deal with that, but I didn't have they had that double, that double thing with dealing with the fans and the boys in the back. So, for me, it was kind of cool for me because it was a new adventure. Like I was coming from a place that I was really over to starting from the bottom. You know, I had kind of had that first generation where I had to start from the bottom and kind of work my way up.
So when you were pretty much where were you wrestling? But when you got called up, when you got signed,
The only place I really worked was in Puerto Rico. Yeah, I was in Puerto Rico.
That's what I thought. So in a way, like, that must have been such a foreign sort of concept to you in and itself because you hadn't even all you'd ever known was wrestling in that what character.
Well, the good thing about Puerto Rico is it's a melting pot. Like from you guys from the beginning, you guys from Japan, from Mexico, from the States. So I saw all kind of all kinds of different styles of wrestling. So that's why I was able to learn so fast.
Yeah.
My main problem really in coming to the States was because of my good looks. I didn't want to be labeled a pretty guy. You know what I mean? I wanted people to I don't know why they're gonna laugh, but I wanted people to respect me for my talent. You know what I mean?
What was your character before you? Because
My character, I was a good guy. I was just plain white, but I was just very boring, very plain white. They used to tell me what to say. I didn't say what in my promos and stuff. I'd try stuff and say, no, you can't say that. You're a good guy. You know what I mean? So, like in real life, I'm kind of an a-hole. You know what I mean? So I kind of being a bad guy, I get to.
You're going to tell me that.
Whatever.
Not being a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite's always been to be a bad guy.
Yeah,
And of course, being my dad's son, I always had to be a good guy with him. So I went to what's called OVW back in the day, and I was just saying I was a good guy, whatever. And then they said one day, why don't you try being a bad guy today, whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then from there they said,
off to the races.
Yeah, you're a dick, so why don't you be a bad guy?
Yes, I was curious about what kind of character you were doing because I personally think of your era, your generation, like the Carlito character to me was one of the best introduced in terms of vignettes and then onto television. I felt like it was, but it wasn't particularly plain sailing because you got hurt very early, right?
Right, in my first, I think, month in maybe?
Right.
I think I beat John Cena my first night and then... You guys know I was scripted, right?
It's still real.
Thank you. It's still real to me down there. I love it. There you go. Yeah, so about a month in or something, I injured my shoulder. Like somebody asked me yesterday, how did the Cabana come about? It was basically that. There was a way to keep me on TV. Because if you get injured, they take you away, whatever. But you can't do that when you just came in because you lose your momentum, whatever. So the Cabana came about. You guys remember with the sling and stuff?
Yep.
That was about 4 or 5 years ago, I think, right? Shut up. Where were we before that rude sir interrupted?
We were just saying how sometimes out of that could have gone one or two ways. You got hurt, and like you said, being hurt 4 weeks into it could have been where they just completely lose faith. You go, oh God, we don't want to try that thing again. But it ended up being a huge.
It actually became a blessing, yeah. But like I said, it was got kind of weird. I don't know if it's insulting or not, but it got to a point where I was actually fully healthy, but they wouldn't have me wrestle people. I come out and do a Cabana, and then have somebody else come out and wrestle the guy I was talking crap about.
You still got paid, bro?
So yeah, paid the same. Checks always come the same.
Less bumps, same check.
Same check, yeah.
Jobs are good.
Look at her, she's ready. Look at her.
All right, guys.
She's trembling and everything.
Thank you very much.
Look, taking off the jacket, she's ready. Look at her.
She is ready. Let's hear it for Carlito.